Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is a Friday, September 30th, 2022, and did a little bit more research on Coolio's death in light of, again, we just discussed how he passed on the 46-year anniversary of Stevie Wonder releasing the album that the song Pastime Paradise was on, and that's the song sampled for Coolio's big hit song Gangsta's Paradise. And notice that Coolio was born August 1st, 1963. We'll talk about Google having the picture of him in an Angels jersey now. But born August 1st, 1963. And his song, Gangsta's Paradise, the single off the Dangerous Minds soundtrack, the single was released August 1st, his birthday, 1995, his 32nd birthday. And 32 is a very special number to a certain secret society. Again, as we'll discuss in a moment, the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry shares the Admerum de Gloriam motto with the Jesuits. And again, in this nation, the United States of America, the Jesuits have been in Washington, D.C. for longer than the federal government, and D.C. is known as the Masonic City, named after the Freemason George Washington, who was favorable to the Catholic Church, which was a lot different from most American sentiment at that time, because a lot of Americans who were in the country at the time had left Europe because Europe was the government, or the Catholic Church was the government of Europe, and they didn't want to be under that Catholic rule, so they escaped across the ocean. And now here comes George Washington, the first recognized president who's favorable to the Catholic Church. But anyhow, the Masons, the Jesuits, numbers on the Masonic temple, it's tattooed, or I should say etched, all is number. And 32, again, has a special meaning. It's not arbitrary that they chose the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite to share the Admerum de Gloriam motto with the Jesuits, whose logo is the sun that has 32 sun rays on it. And, you know, in light of Coolio wearing an Angels jersey, gematria, it's based on the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. Forwards, Angels equals 22, like the number he's wearing, like the year he's dead in, 2022. But when you run it in reverse, Angels equals 32. When you run it forwards, Scottish equals 32. Remember, the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite shares the motto with the Jesuits, Admerum de Gloriam. And the word America equals 32 as well. 7/4/1776 is a date with 32 numerology. It's funny then that same cipher where America and Scottish both equal 32, so does the words college, career, average. Big special number in this nation where we're made to be like, it's like we're all made from a cookie cutter, right? We get the same kind of programming. We all hear the same songs on the radio, watch the same shows, see the same news. And next thing you know, a nation that before the television age that was massive, it had all sorts of different culture in all different areas of the country. But over time, over decades of television, a lot of that culture's lost. The same businesses take over everybody's markets, national growing corporations. And next thing you know, it's like, no longer is this city making this kind of music anymore. Now they're all emulating what they saw on, the national TV. Anyway, Coolio, he got to be on that big of a stage, right? I remember when I was growing up, when we moved to a neighborhood that was maybe poor, lower middle class, but it wasn't bad. It was a lot better than the neighborhood that I first grew up in. But we moved when I turned 7, and we moved to a better neighborhood. And a family moved in maybe 6-9 months behind us, somewhere around there. And they came with a boy and a girl who were around the same age as me. So I grew up with them being my friends, my neighbors. But I remember their parents were very opposed to all rap music, and that was a thing in the news, like certain politicians getting rap CDs and stomping on them and breaking them and saying this music's the devil's music. And of course, this had happened with all sorts of genres of music, but this is like, it's the 90s and hip hop's really emerging and it's becoming more of a thing. We moved in 1990, so this is probably after 2 or 3 years of living there, this kind of stuff starting to happen. But I remember their family was really opposed to hip hop music, and like if they were listening to the pop station and they played any song that was kind of like rap music, they'd change the station to something else. And when this song came out years later, like this is maybe 2 years after I'd known them like this, when this Coolio's Gangster's Paradise came out, they really liked it because they liked the lyrical content. They liked the message. So I remember they were like listening to it loud and they had big speakers in their house. It was like the first time I noticed that they had such like a big, expensive like stereo system. They had more money than we did because one of their parents had a better government job. But anyhow, they actually ended up having a bunch of financial problems eventually, which I didn't understand because it's like, how do they have financial problems? He makes way better money than my parents. But some people are bad with their money and their investments is what it is. Some people just work hard and don't spend anything. But anyway, I just remember when this song came out, it made you just again, and they say Coolio's song "Gangsta's Paradise." Look at what it says here on the Google thing: the highest charting single by American rapper Coolio. That song was massive, though. I bet you in terms of hip hop singles, it's probably one of the biggest all time. And again, it got tons of radio play back then. But I just remember that this family was like, "Wow, so this is a rap song they can listen to on the radio. Okay, this one they like." And it wasn't like that in my house. That's why I just noticed the difference in their house. You know, my sister was 12 years older than me, and she was blasting Public Enemy. And again, where my sister and I grew up, we were the only white kids in the neighborhood. So, but then when we moved, the demographics of the neighborhood were different. Anyhow, isn't it something, though? You just start to see this stuff, the 32-year anniversary. And then again, the baseball jersey, if I didn't make the point, I'll make it again. The Dodgers just broke their 32-year drought in the World Series the other year, and they defeated the Rays after 32 years. Again, 32 sun rays on the Jesuit logo. On Coolio's 32nd birthday, Gangsta's Paradise is coming out, right? And again, I mean, you listen to that song today, just like so many songs, it's as true as ever, but people didn't see it. The real Gangsta's Paradise are the people that have owned this nation from the beginning and controlled its lawmakers, its businesses. Again, there is an organized network in this world that people want to turn a blind eye to, and they're putting their symbolism all over the stuff that's controlling us, like dollar bills. But anyway, some more good finds by the community. Coolio, he had this beef with Weird Al Yankovic because a year after Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise came out. Oh, hold on, I gotta say one more thing before we even get into the Weird Al thing. In music as well, just numbers in music. If you had to survey America, and say, okay, think of a pattern with musicians and a number. The majority of Americans, some people might not have an answer, but there's a lot of people who'd be like, are you talking about like the 27 Club? 27 Club? These are the kind of responses you get from some people. And I don't know what other number pattern they'd come up with unless they were aware of gematria. We know about the 59 Club, which Coolio just joined. We know about the 3883 Club. I mean, there's some numbers that are very consistent in ritualistic death, and of course, 27 is one of them. Coolio's song, Gangsta's Paradise, which came out on his 32nd birthday, notice, he celebrated, I guess you can just say the song celebrated its 27th birthday in 2022. And again, this song is attached to his birthday, right? And again, all of this stuff is biblical. He died right after Rosh Hashanah concluded. Remember, Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. And you'll see a lot of rituals at this time of year between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which is coming right up, the day for atonement. But again, with regards to the Jewish holidays, remember, Coolio just died on the 46-year anniversary of Stevie Wonder putting out the album that Pastime Paradise was on, again, which is the song sampled for Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise. That song came out 46 years to the day earlier of Coolio's death. And again, 46 is big in the Old Testament, which is the Jewish section of the Bible. The word sacrifice equals 46 in gematria, and Genesis 46, the first book of the Bible is Genesis. It means seed, it means in the beginning. And there's something really interesting about that as well in gematria, which if I remember I'll show you in a second. But again, Genesis is the basis of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. The first 5 books of the Bible are known as the first 5 books of Moses. It begins with Genesis. Those books are the basis of the Abrahamic religions. And again, if you run the alphabetic order in reverse, the word Abrahamic is 187. There's 187 chapters in those 5 books that are the basis of the Abrahamic religions. And there's a lot more to say than that, but if you write out in the beginning with the alphabetic order, it equals 137, which is the 33rd prime number. The word seed is 33. Genesis means seed or in the beginning. Those are its 2 common translations. And if you write out Genesis and use the alphabetic order with numerology, it's also 33. And again, this whole concept of gematria goes back to Hebrew, which is what Genesis is originally written in. And again, as I've covered in years past, there's a lot of overlap with English words and numerical values and Hebrew words and their numerical values. Israel equals the same thing in English and Hebrew. Zion, Netanyahu, the former prime minister. I haven't even researched it in this way with the current prime minister, but just there's so many examples of the same numerical value in the 2 languages. And there's other, I haven't talked about it for a minute. There's even more examples, but there's a lot of words that have overlap between the 2 languages. And again, in the Hebrew study of gematria, the word light is 201. And again, to the occult, light is knowledge. And information like this is knowledge. In Kabbalah, this is the knowledge to understand how Creator made the world and how Creator interacts with us through various ways, but one of the teachings within Kabbalah is gematria. Again, the opening page of the Book of Formation says God created the world with numbers, letters, and words. And for example, Gangsta's paradise equals 271. Coolio's dead on the 271st day of the year. Slave, Negro, Blues, Rasta, they all equal 59. Coolio's dead at 59 on the 59th day of his age, on a date with 59 numerology, in sync with the song that was made by Motown Records, which came out in 59. And again, Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year. This is why they're doing all of this stuff. And the only question really is all of it they're doing, or is it like a spell has been cast through language and sorcery and this system and this calendar and this way we tell time? Has a big spell been cast with magical outcomes like this that are related to ritual sacrifice because these people are evil? Again, all this stuff's talked about in the Bible, right? The synagogue of Satan. Those who claim to be Jews but are not, but are liars. Again, have the Jewish people and spirituality been hijacked? And I mean, how many things have been hijacked? I think everybody's been lied to about everything. History's been chopped up and recreated and reshuffled and retold. I mean, it's hard to understand everything, but it's like there's broken fragments of the truth all over the place, and you can try and put them back together. And really, in my opinion, the only way to find out what is true and what is not is to put it to the test. And that's why I've been here every single day for 9 years straight talking about the same stuff over and over. And we probably just had our biggest moment as a gathering of truth seekers coming together in New York City for the weekend of 9/11. And then out of that, we just all witnessed so much amazing synchronicity in our lives. And some of it even got scary with like all car crashes on the same day. And But again, all of this is part of a learning process too. If it is true that the Kabbalists are right, that God or Creator, or however you want to refer to it, communicates to us in this way, and it can be observed by being understood, that is real knowledge for this world. And the problem is people will just radically deny it because they've bought in so much by the time they finish the slave school system to a certain belief. Some people come out, they will be religious. Some people come out, they'll be completely scientific, academic, mathematical, and everything else to them is just phony baloney nonsense that's a waste of time, and they don't even really want to think about it. And again, I mean, That's what's wrong with the human ego, right? Because once it's set on something, it doesn't want to admit that that's wrong, because then if that's wrong, then it makes things a little bit more uncomfortable, and we don't like to be uncomfortable. But anyway, I don't mind with being uncomfortable. What I mind is just watching this world get worse and worse and worse. And shout out to the shark in New York. He'd actually sent me a clip before I even met him in New York, showing me an interview from about 5-6 months ago with Coolio. Somebody's going to say, he said 5 or 6 months ago. Well, that isn't really about how long ago it was. Check the date on it. But Coolio was just talking about how he was pretty sure in his time in the industry, he wasn't 100% sure if he was being paranoid or not, but he thought some people were suggesting for him to do something, really sinister over here, maybe for the benefits of his career. But he's like, I'm not like that. I would never do anything like that, so don't even bring that to me. And I don't know if in the past before that, because I'd never heard Coolio talk about anything like this before, but it is out there. It's on a podcast. What was sent to me is about a 20-minute clip, and I watched all of it. And essentially, he's kind of redundant in things he's saying, but again, he's making the point that he's pretty sure there's some wicked stuff going on in the industry. And again, did you know that when Coolio sampled that song, he didn't even realize at first that was Stevie Wonder's song? That was just a beat somebody brought to him, and so we're told he came up with the lyrics to the song and put it over it. But is that really the case too? I mean, there's a lot of people who are super talented in this world who never make it to the big stage, and there might have been a lot of people in this world who could have delivered the same lyrics if it wasn't even written by Coolio. And maybe even in more impactful way. But anyway, it is Coolio who's that song. And sometimes it seems like these guys, for example, I recently talked about the death of Kurt Cobain and how their big hit song in the 90s, Smells Like Teen Spirit, how they didn't write that song. That song was given to them to perform, and they did, and it was a hit. And, some of these songs and the way all this stuff's lined up, it seems like they really might have been, they might have signed on the line for the fame, but not realizing, or who knows, maybe they do realize. Whether they do or don't is regardless of the point. But the point that I'm trying to make is when they might be signing their lives away, they might be signing on to a planned script for the rest of their life. Here's going to be your big song. Here's going to be your next big song. Because that's the thing in this world. These people can make a song that doesn't deserve to be a big song by just playing it over and over on the radio. I mean, I remember when that Katy Perry Juicy J song was out, Dark Horse. Oh my God, just every radio station. It would be so annoying in the Seattle area. You couldn't miss the song. It was playing on 4 stations all at once, all the time. It was like, okay. I've never seen this where I just can't get away from the song. I really think in my lifetime that there's something about that song, Dark Horse, and again, that's more biblical symbolism. But and that song's about playing with magic, right? Playing with magic. I got something about she's coming at you like a dark horse. But oh my God, when that was Seattle, I don't know if it's like that in every city, but Seattle's where I was living at the time, and it was just annoying. You could not get off. I think that's why I ended up signing up for SiriusXM for the first time. And then I found out on SiriusXM they were playing that song on every station all the time. I was just like, this is ridiculous. Come on, man. But okay, coming back to this, just this whole thing of the spell casting and the symbols and the rituals and connecting it to sports. Keep in mind, Coolio's dead in the year of the 118th World Series. That's about to be played. About a month after his death, the World Series will start. And the favorite all year, remember, Dave Roberts guaranteed the Dodgers would win the World Series in spring training. I've never heard a manager say anything like that in my life. Guarantee the win. But we pointed out before the season began, before Dave Roberts even made that guarantee, again, it's the year of the 118th World Series, and I've been calling LA the 118 city for 5-6 years now. Tupac Shakur, who was claiming LA at the end of his life, died on 118 date numerology. It's a number connected to death in Jewish gematria. But Los Angeles, California equals 118. It's on the 118th Meridian West, and its date of establishment, 9/4, is the day leaving 118 days left in the year. And again, just for Google to update his photo with a baseball jersey, obviously the Angels aren't going to the World Series. But the Dodgers are, top team in the NL, and no one will be surprised if they go to the World Series or win it like Dave Roberts guaranteed. But just realize this is the kind of stuff we're documenting just when they change photos. The other year it was really helpful for us when Medina Spirit won the Kentucky Derby, the only horse with 20-1 odds, which is a very special number, 201. Google updated the photo of Bob Baffert, the owner of the horse, and they put him next to a picture and zoomed in on his head, and they made it so it was like some year, but you couldn't tell what year it was because they cut out everything but the 201 by his head, right? And Google Wikipedia did that like the night before the race, and we were talking about how Medina Spirit was the 201 horse. What's sad is Medina Spirit did win the race, but then remember they said it was on drugs, so you got paid if you won the bet, but then they ended up taking it away from Bob Baffert, and then Medina Spirit ended up dying on the 201st day of the Ignatian year, right? And again, 201's this super deadly number throughout history. Eazy-E's death 201 days after his birthday, synced up with Ice Cube's Lethal Injection album, what they just did to Young Dolph last year, what they've done to a bunch of rappers on Empire Records, 201, 201, 201, 201. If you guys don't know, I'm finishing a book on what the meaning of 201 is. In Hebrew, it represents light. In English, it represents knowledge. The English phrase, knowledge is power, is 201. It's a huge number with the history of the Jesuits and the Masons. We were just in Oklahoma City to educate about the massive 201 ritual when they blew up the federal building and blamed it on Timothy McVeigh, which was quite the story. Blamed on a military intelligence personnel at a federal building as a prep for our minds for what was to come just 6 years later. That was also in 95, the year Coolio's Dangerous Minds, big hit. Gangsta's Paradise was coming out again. We know who the real 201 gangsters are. It's the same ones where the gangsters come from, Italy, the mafia. It's the Jesuits. It's the real mob. 201 and everything, from the lottery to Vegas to the rig sports to the ritual murders. But anyway, 201's this huge, massive number, and in this case, Coolio had this beef with Weird Al Yankovic, who a lot of people think is Jewish, but he's actually Catholic, which is funny because the Jesuits are Catholic and Jewish. But from the anniversary of Weird Al putting out Amish Paradise on the bad hair day where he has like Coolio's, 90s hair, notice from the anniversary of that song to the day that Coolio died was the 201st day of the anniversary of that song, right? And again, Jewish mysticism is 201 like the Jesuit order. And again, the Protestant Reformation, which was based on the 95 Theses. Again, Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated on the 95th day in 1968, 3 days before the Catholic Club of Rome was created by the Rockefellers, who were all part of the World Trade Center plan. 2 towers became 0 before they became 1. But anyway, the ongoing 201 pattern, right? And the headlines that came out after Coolio died, why Coolio wrote diss lyrics for Weird Al during Amish Paradise feud. Again, when Coolio was talking about how people came at him to do evil stuff that he wouldn't do in the industry, he might not have talked about things that people came at him with that maybe were kind of messed up, but he could shrug his shoulders at and go, "You're going to pay me to do that? Well, I don't see what the harm is in that, and I could use that, $500 extra $1,000 or whatever you get paid to do these kind of things. Could be less, could be more. But what if they just are like, yo, man, start a beef now with Weird Al over his song Amish Paradise? Because why do you want that? Because controversy sells. People like drama. Again, I was on Yeah Right, the Matrix's stream ranting yesterday about my frustration about the biggest donation period I've seen outside of my birthday when live streaming is when I go on rants about stuff. And I regret doing that because I am just angry and just letting people know how I really feel. But it's like people will pay for that, though. They're paying to see that frustration and rant. And I get it, man, because I guess it makes you feel less alone. But, I mean, realize almost every time I'm on here, my demeanor is usually like somewhat agitated. And as it should be. It goes back to the film network. First, you got to get mad, man. You should be mad about what's going on in the world. I'm talking about the ongoing ritual murder of people by a code systematically, month after month, sometimes a whole bunch of times in a month, teaching about it for going on. I mean, now we're counting to 10 years straight. We just passed the 9-year mark last month, but now we're counting up to 10 years teaching the same lesson about the killing of black men, the shaming of black men, and the number 59. And it's frustrating because it continues to go on, and this supposed truth community continues to be mum on this subject. Have you seen anyone else in the truth community come out that has a platform? I know there's a lot of people whose channels have sprouted up teaching gematria who are doing this. Shout out to all those people. That there's a lot of them. But none of us have a big platform. And those of us who've had our platforms grow, we've been deleted and made small again and kept small with constant deletion and censorship. And again, I would just think even some of the YouTubers that, that they have 500,000 subscribers, they have upwards of 1 million, that they're on here, they're young black men themselves, they're talking about tragedy in hip-hop, what's going on, all these different hip-hop magazines and blogs. You think just somebody would get on there and talk about this stuff, right? And, with what Call Me Kin folks doing, that might start happening more and more because he is a different shade of skin color than I am, and that might be helpful. It might be problematic that I'm talking about the murder of young black men by a systematic code, and I'm not black myself. That might keep some people from covering the content because that's the way people's minds work. Just like some white people won't cover somebody else's thing because they're a certain way. And, people are mean online too, and they can be in the world, but they're even meaner online. Sweet Lady, part of the reason she doesn't want to go on camera is she actually created her own YouTube channel years ago. Don't try to look for it because it doesn't exist anymore. But she tried to create her own YouTube channel years ago, and she put herself on there trying to teach English to Burmese people and also some things they should know, and just for trying to be helpful and stuff. Like the kind of comments that were left, so many of them were like mean or critiquing the way she looked or her accent. And after just doing a few videos, she was just getting so many mean responses, and she's like, God, all I'm doing is just going on here and trying to help teach some useful things. And so she just quit and got rid of it. And I'm sure a lot of people who could have brought something helpful to the world and, taught a great YouTube channel on whatever it was, they might not have, just because of just like how mean people can be for no reason. And, anyway, I'm getting off into different topics, but Coolio was just talking about what I heard. The thing that really stood out to me that what Coolio said in the 20-minute segment, besides just saying how it seemed like people came at him suggesting to do some wicked stuff that he wasn't about. And I think what he was saying because he wasn't super clear in his communication, but I think what he was saying by the paranoid part is maybe I was just paranoid that was people coming at me to try and elevate my career, and that's why that was happening. But I don't think he was paranoid about that. I think that's why he was suggesting that might have been what was going on, because that's the way it seems. And people are thinking that that's the reason he's dead now. That's possible, but the way this stuff works, again, 27 years after the big song, on the 46-year anniversary of the sample, and again, not only does sacrifice equal 46, but so does rap, and so does that word Svengali, which is the evil hidden hand in the industry. And so does Weird Al's album Bad Hair Day, which the Amish Paradise, the parody of Coolio's song, the whole album's a parody of him, because again, the album artwork's making fun of Coolio's hair. And yeah, it is just funny realizing this, just how the 201's the Catholic Jesuit Jewish alliance, and then everyone thinks Weird Al's Jewish, but he's actually Catholic, or was raised Catholic at least, as so many were. But and just seeing how they got it synced up with 201. But again, we know this is the way the recording industry is. We've seen these same patterns a million times with a million different artists. The perfect rituals, and it looks like it's all so perfectly planned and plotted out. And again, the reason that that's a more than feasible theory is you have, again, other entertainers speaking out about creepy stuff going on, suspicious deaths, ritual sacrifices, what really happened to Eazy-E, again, who died 201 days after his birthday, after Ice Cube's Lethal Injection album. And there's so much more to say about all that stuff, but anyway, this stuff, the people who have a platform who think it's interesting and don't share it because they're under instruction, you got to break your master's instructions. You know, I mean, if that's the deal, if you guys are on YouTube and you're taking orders from somebody and you've built up a platform and it's lucrative, well, since you're already a recognized thing, I mean, have the courage to break away and do the right thing and see how you can sustain yourself. I bet you do better than you think. God, you might even surprise yourself and make even more and actually be telling the truth. I don't know. I can't figure out how it can possibly be that so few people have covered this information as reliable and consistent and as many proofs as there is. And I just feel like it's all these people who claim to be about truth and say, I just hear so many people just talk a good game all the time, but then I don't see them doing anything. You know, I'm going to their channels, seeing where they're getting people to come out and stand for something and speak out and educate. I mean, that should be going on every day all over the place. It's the only way we're going to change anything. Yeah, so anyway. Yeah, there's even more to say about that, but if you missed the content up to this, go back and watch the 40-minute video that I put out yesterday, again, just on Coolio dying on the anniversary of Stevie Wonder's album coming out that had this big song, Pastime Paradise, that, again, Coolio sampled. And, again, it's just so perfect, right? His first album in 94. He's dead on the day, leaving 94 days left in the year. He's dead on the 271st day of the year, the big hit, Gangsta's Paradise. Just run the alphabetic order in reverse. Gangsta's Paradise 271, you know. Again, Coolio dead at 59. The numbers that pay tribute to history and slavery from the Bible, Acts 7:6, about 400 years of slavery. That hit in America August 2019. The next verse is how that nation gets punished. Part of how we predicted that 2020 would be a bad year for America and probably the world, and it was. It was the year of COVID-19. 19 years after 9/11 and the 19 hijackers. And somebody's at the door. Hold on. I'm not expecting anyone at the door. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, again, Acts 7:6, about 400 years of slavery. Just all these numbers trace back to the Bible. It's a lot to explain all of it, but you'll see how these numbers are used ritualistically over and over. In February, what's messed up is Gerald Ford was the president, and it was the date February 10th, the date written 10/2, like 102 in the majority of the world. The word slavery is 102. It's another pattern. The word slave alone is 59. But it was on that day in Black History Month, the month that ends on the 59th day of the year, in the year 76, that the federal government recognized Black History Month for the first time. Just like how when they recognized Juneteenth, they did the huge ritual with the Confederate statue coming down in D.C. a year to the day of, which was 201 days before the Capitol insurrection where the Confederate flag flew. And again, Confederates also 201. And don't forget, the American Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year. George Perry Floyd, the man murdered in Minnesota by the police, at least how we're told in the story, which happened on Memorial Day, which is to remember the Civil War. Again, that led to all the Confederate statues coming down. Again, he was a huge 201 ritual, but his name, the big way, 201, the small way, 102, George Floyd. His full name, George Perry Floyd, 201, George Perry Floyd, the small way, 102. And then, again, just George Floyd has the same gematria as Civil War. But, again, Coolio's birth name has the gematria 76 as well. Stevie Wonder's song that he sampled came out in 76, 46 years to the day of his death. Again, and he dies at 59 on the 59th day of his age on a 59 date numerology. I mean, you can't get more obvious. And that's what I mean. When he was chosen for this song, it could have been because he had the right birthday. For the day they wanted to release the song, which was again on his 32nd birthday, for this planned moment in history. The other thing I was thinking about with this is, again, Stevie Wonder, right? He sampled Stevie Wonder. And did you guys see that yesterday after we put out the information, CNN broke the news about 30 minutes after we did the broadcast of Coolio dying on the anniversary of Stevie Wonder's song releasing. Look at this. So at the time, my stream had been up for nearly 40 minutes, and Google had it frozen on 38. But then these screenshots are from the same time. After we finished the stream, sometime after we finished the stream, and the stream was 40 minutes long itself, so about an hour and a half after we began talking about this, CNN breaks the news that Coolio coincidentally died on the anniversary of the song he sampled. And again, that's what I call the coincidence programming. But I'm wondering if someone at CNN is watching. And if you are, hey, grow a pair, quit your job at CNN, and help support us. And see, that's the problem. If that person did quit and started helping us, the problem with this truth community is they'd start attacking him. He's a definite shill. He used to work at CNN. Because how do we know that's true? Because we just had Lincoln Karam, who used to work at CNN, like thousands of other people do. A lot of people work for that network. They're not all Jake Tapper and Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon and, you know, Tucker Carlson, who used to work for CNN, and Paul Begala and all these people. Wolf Blitzer, of course. But Brian Skelter, he recently left. But anyway, Lincoln Karam, who left CNN and now spends his time trying to put out thoughtful, well-done videos using the skills he has from being in the industry, you know, he gets attacked by people who always point out, he used to work at CNN, don't trust him. It's like, you guys, there's something, it's just like the pastime paradise, right? Stevie Wonder's song is about people are focused too much on the past. Let's start working to make a better future, right? And people are always just dwelling on the past and not doing what they need to do in the moment to make it so the past doesn't keep becoming the present and the future. You know what I mean? That's what that song's about. And then Coolio's song is about, you know, you better think about what you're doing. You better not provoke my anger. You know what's kind of weird about the organic side is, again, I was just talking about Coolio just days before he died. I brought up his name because I was talking about how, you know, that clown from Boston called Yeah Right the Matrix Coolio because 2 years ago when we were out in Seattle for March of 2020 to raise awareness about Event 201, the coronavirus pandemic simulation, Yeah Right said, what Zach did is cool. We need to start doing more stuff like this. And we need people like Richie from Boston and Brian at High Impact Flicks. And he named all the same people I would name, the people that, you know, have dedicated a lot of time to trying to get people to wake up to some things. Some of us mixing a lot more bullshit than others. And Richie from Boston responds to Yeah Right and calls him Coolio. He says, yeah, whatever, Coolio. I was just talking about that the other day before he died. But then it was like around that same time that somebody got me to look at Brian's recent video because he had a guy on that he thought might be good to collaborate with, and they were talking a little bit about action. Anyway, and then I tried to collaborate with that guy, and he was nothing but a troll and a punk. And after listening to his troll shit for 10 minutes, I cussed him out. And then Brian made a video about that at High Impact Flicks to say, see what a bad guy Zach is? It's like, dude, how about listen to the... It's funny that Brian made that video the morning that the news broke of Coolio dying later that day, because Coolio even has those lyrics in that song. You know, if you're a punk, you'll get treated like a punk, and don't provoke my anger. That's exactly what happened in that moment, and anyone who doesn't understand that's not a real person. Yeah, is there better ways to handle things than the way I handled it? Yeah, but to make a video trying to make me look like a bad guy for that, please. The bad guy is the goon that I called out, you know? Guy that makes people call him daddy. I mean, that's who Brian wants to collaborate with. A guy who makes his guests call him daddy. He has his whole chat calling him daddy. If they say one thing that bothers him one bit, he just kicks him off the stream. I mean... But that's who Brian wants to promote. And I'm the bad guy. I mean, that's laughable. While neither of these guys do anything but collect money off selling shit. Anyway, I don't want to go down that road, but I do think that's kind of weird that Brian put out that video And again, it's like Coolio dies in his big song. It's like he almost talks about that moment. That exact type of thing. If you don't want to be treated like a punk, don't be a punk. And if you don't want my anger, don't provoke my anger. And I gave that punk a lot of chances, but he kept being a punk, and he was talking more and more shit, and then it just got so annoying that I just had to tell him to shut the fuck up. And was there nicer ways to do it? Could I have done it in a better way? Understand, if there was like a 5-year-old in the room with me, I would have handled that a different way. But there was no 5-year-old in the room. It's just who's ever watching his little channel, and him and I. And the other group of guys calling him daddy in the room, so I don't even really care what they think anyway, because I don't respect older men calling a younger guy that has a YouTube channel daddy. It's like a creep show. But realize this is the guy that High Impact Flicks wants to collaborate with while he puts down what we're doing, actually bringing people together and making change. Anyway, let me switch topic. Again, gematria, you guys. We were talking about these numbers with young Dolph's murder in Memphis in a huge 201 ritual last year. And notice, this time it's a 34-year-old teacher killed by a 38-year-old man in Memphis. And again, I have books about this, 1,000 posts on this same topic, murder by numbers, the gematria murder. What are the odds that a 34-year-old teacher gets killed by a 38-year-old man in Memphis? Again, we can point out that there is an organic side. Is it possible that this could have been the wrong place, the wrong time? Well, not exactly anymore, because it's like a kidnapping, murder conspiracy, long time for the police report thing to come out. And this news did break yesterday, September 29th. If you've read my last book, Number Games, I talk about the deaths of Martin Luther King Jr. and his family members and the boule and the numbers 34 and 38, where it all connects. And again, MLK was killed in Memphis. And this news, this headline is from this morning, because I should have took the screenshot last night when this news broke, but this news broke yesterday, September 29th, that the police said that she was killed by a gunshot to the back of the head. Remember, from MLK's murder to the first major gun control act was 201 days later, both in 1968. Again, MLK killed on the 95th day of the year. 95 Theses, Jesuits, Catholic Church, September 27th, the day the Jesuits were recognized by Rome, the day leaving 95 days left in the year. Coolio's big song, Gangsta's Paradise in 95, the day he died. They say that song was recorded in 94 and 95. The day he died is, again, the day leaving 94 days left in the year, like how his breakout album came in 94. But also, if you count that day through December 31st, it's a total of 95 days. There's 94 days that come after it. So that's the way we say it. We say it's the day leaving 94 days left in the year. But remember, September 27th, the day before, the big Jesuit days, the day leaving 95 days left in the year. So those 95 days are September 28th through December 31st. So that's why you got to always think about the two numbers. And it makes perfect sense with Coolio. Again, 94, 95 were his big years. He's dead on the one day in the Catholic calendar that we use, September 28th, that has the 94, 95 connection. But also, just, again, MLK. We're just bringing back to 95 and just how it all comes together. By the way, the word rapper equals 34 and 38. And if there is spells and spelling and sorcery, and just from being labeled a rapper, it could be that it is that way to a large extent. If you have the number rapper attached to you, it might increase your odds of something bad happening to you. That could be the way it works in the organic matrix. At the same time, that doesn't mean that the psychopaths, the record studios who know that death sells and controversy brings more attention, it doesn't mean that they can't also be like, okay, we're aware of this Kabbalistic code. We want to be like the Most High. We want to connect with the Creator, the part of Creator that we like. We know that when we do evil, it brings us this. Again, people should consider that our Creator is good and evil as well, since all things are good and bad in this world, just like we have good and bad in us. And, for the channels right now that are so busy bringing attention to the way I cussed out this, it's just amazing how they're focused on me, but not talking about, it's just like, that's why you guys shouldn't see it's an agenda. I mean, these people are turning a blind eye. Can you guys imagine if I had people on my channel that could only come on if they called me daddy, and I was always constantly scolding the chat and say, call me daddy, and just, I mean, God, I don't want to go into this, but it's just like, I can't make sense of this world. It's like, people are attracted to creepy, just weirdos and frauds and losers. If you look at people who have a platform, it's like, how can people be watching this? They look like Jabba the Hutt doubles. I mean, you just can't figure it out. They have nothing interesting or new to share. They're just regurgitating mainstream, and I think that last part's it. You just see the people that aren't really doing anything, they're just keeping people in the same box the mainstream does. But anyway, organic side and manipulated side, no doubt they're both in effect. And in this case, it's a kidnap and murder, but who's really behind the murder? And look at this. You read about the teacher who was kidnapped. From what I understand, she has some family wealth connection as well, but she also taught at a Catholic school, and a lot of times Catholic, not all, but a lot of Catholic private schools are really nice schools. And I haven't been to this one, so it's something to look into if you're in the area and you're finding this story. But she taught at St. Mary's Episcopal School. St. Mary's, again, this happens in the time of Virgo. I guess they're Episcopal, actually, but again, just same. It's all related. I just realized the whole Protestant Reformation was a fraud, you guys. It's just how Catholicism spread its brand further. I was raised Lutheran. We're supposed to be named after Martin Luther, who led it. I mean, my whole life, IHS has been all over the chair, the Jesuit acronym, and you're doing the same Catholic Holy Communion, eating the body, drinking the blood. I mean, so many of these religions think that they're not the Catholic Church. They might not have a confession booth like a Lutheran church doesn't, but it's obvious. It's all the same thing they got us doing, worshiping on the same pagan holidays. And again, the Catholic Church started out pagan. But, here, I just want to show you this woman's name, too, because just familiar patterns. She died 98 days... Or did I say 98? She died 68 days before her November 9th birthday, right? 68. Just infamous numbers. So many things went into motion in 1968, but words like Catholicism, mathematics, solar system, Helios, it's all about the sun. 68. And she's dead 68 days before her November 9th birthday. They listed her date of death as September 2nd. Now, her name is also 67, Eliza Fletcher, and in that same cipher, so is blood sacrifice, and so is human sacrifice. And in the most simple cipher, satanic is 67 and killer 67. This number is always around death. 67 is also the 19th prime number. The Jesuit motto, they refer to Jesus as Jesus. It's the old Roman name before the J was invented. But Jesus is also 19 in the most pure cipher. Like the sun is the 19th card of the tarot deck. And again, history's been destroyed and recreated. The oldest known tarot deck just coincidentally goes back to Italy. But, again, that's where the Catholic Church is. That's where the mob is. Gangsta's paradise. Coolio, for the record, his rap name equals 93, like Malcolm X, like Martin Luther King Jr. Again, none of those were their given birth names. They were all given to him. And... again, 93 relates to Jesus, whose physical description in the Bible would make you think he's darker complected. Again, begins with the 42 generations to Jesus, another number stamped all over black history. But 93, Coolio equals 93. Again, so does Malcolm X, so does Martin Luther King Jr. And big number all throughout black history. I make a big point about this in chapter 18 of Letters and Numbers, where I also teach about 42 and 59. And... again, Nazareth equals 93, Jesus' place of birth, which is a place in the sky, like the sun's in the sky, said to be 93 million miles away. And God's Son, S-O-N, is 93, so is crucifix. Mithra equals 93. Mithra's birthday was celebrated on December 25th by the Romans before the Roman Catholic Church came into being. It was Mithra before Jesus on December 25th, and Mithra is a sun god. And in English, we say sun for male offspring and the object in the sky. I mean, and again, I don't know why people struggle with this. It's like, you have to have so much, just like you have to, I guess your life has to be so fear-based that you can't unlock the thing that you see as an obvious lie, because if you admit that, then if you admit that, I guess it's that if you admit that and you're wrong, that fear thing says that you'll burn in hellfire forever, right? And can you imagine a creator like that gives you a mind with the capacity to think and change based on information. And sometimes you have to live long enough before enough information comes to you before you can really fully appreciate what's spiritual about this world. I mean, how could I appreciate spiritual? Well, I mean, maybe by the time you are a very young age, maybe something does happen in your life and it just... But I mean, some people might not have... You might have to have enough life experience by the time you're, let's just say, 50 years old to really be confident that, yes, this is how it works. I'm witnessing all kinds of things in the time I become aware of this knowledge that have changed the way I look at the world and the way I understand the world, but I haven't made up my mind all the way. I'm still looking. I'm just saying, but the evidence is making me think that, okay, this stuff that seems so silly to me, like once upon a time I read that God created the world with numbers, letters, and words, and these types of things, and it just seemed like, how arbitrary is that? Man make up words and letters and numbers, but at the same time, the ability to do math and communicate through numbers and plan things out by numbers, it is something that gives structure to the world. It's why the fourth book of the Bible is titled Numbers. But, yeah, again, just these numbers have meaning. So Coolio, he was given this number with his rap name that's so significant in Black history. And, that's the point I was trying to make. Okay. My mind is scrambled this morning. Too much stuff going on. But anyway, Stevie Wonder, from what we understand, he's blind. I know a lot of you guys don't think he's blind because you've seen like the clips of him grabbing the cane right out of the air as it falls. Just from being around people who are blind, and one of the students I grew up with in middle school and high school, he was blind. His name was Robert. And his face was interesting. His face looked so old he was said to be the same age as us, but it was like his face had aged somehow. He probably had something that I didn't know about as a young person, but he was blind as well. And he had a lot of interesting thoughts about life. I remember when he was so certain that you need to make sure you wash your hair 2 times in the shower. And, but he had great reflexes and instincts around him. And I've heard from him and other blind people and other people who have disabilities that when you lose one, sense or feature, other senses of the body become heightened. So, because he's been blind and used to being blind, is he picking up as the cane falls? Is he picking up on that sound so carefully right where it is, and he just knows to grab? I mean, that's possible. There are other things that people have shown about Stevie Wonder. Is it possible that he's not really blind and it's all part of the character he plays? That's possible too. I mean, I don't want to get caught up in those kind of arguments, but sometimes I just see the way people argue it. It would have been like, I've seen people say, I've seen the clip of where he grabs the cane out of the air. That's impossible if you're blind. I don't know that that's impossible. Again, I remember Robert. Robert had great reflexes and awareness around him, and the way he moved about, like sometimes I'd look at him and be like, it doesn't seem like he's blind. But, yeah, so anyway, but I'm just thinking about the symbolism, you guys. Coolio's connected to LA, right? Remember, it was a couple years back, we were talking about how on the 201st day of the year, that show 911 that's set in LA, the focus was on a big blackout in LA, right? Big blackout in LA. And that trailer for that came out on, I forget if it was June 13th or July 20th. And if you're like, how do you confuse those two dates? It's because one leaves 201 days left in the year, and the other is the 201st day of the year. I think it was July 20th, which is the anniversary of the moon landing. Neil Alden Armstrong equals 201, the first man on the moon. Order of Illuminati equals 201, founded by the Jesuit Order 201. Again, Adam Weishaupt was a Jesuit, the founder of the Illuminati. But the moon is illuminated by the sun, and the sun is the center of the universe based on the heliocentric model, and heliocentrism equals 201. And again, it was created the same century as the Jesuits, who are the big 201 gang, where everything's about the sun and time and rituals. And you know what else? I forgot to make this point. I'm forgetting to make all kinds of points. I'm doing a bad job in this broadcast. I might just need to delete it and start over. But anyway, Amish paradise, right? The Amish are farmers. They're doing everything the way our ancestors did it. If the world falls out and there's a power outage, the Amish are going to be in the paradise because they know how to live. They got root cellars. That they are built for this world. Us, the city dwellers and the electrical light, we're not. We're going to be in the dark. But I was thinking about this with Coolio's song being parodied with Amish Paradise, right? And again, him dying on the 201st anniversary of Weird Al Yankovic. And Again, just the blackout season for LA premiering the debut on the turn first day of the year. And don't forget that they played the Rolling Stones song for that trailer, Paint It Black. And a few days later, the Rolling Stones drummer Charlie Watts died, and Watts is Electricity. And we were talking about Justin Timberlake's recent music video. Maybe, I've lost track of time. Was it 5 years ago? Was it 10 years ago? But he has a music video from recent times where Los Angeles is blacked out. He's in front of candles at the library, because if you want knowledge, you got to go get those books. Everything that was on your computers is no more. Again, that's why it's important to have things that you like printed out. The digital world might not be here. Wouldn't that be something if we went back into a period of time where we lost the digital world? I have trouble imagining that because they're moving us into meta. But you know what? Before we get to meta in 2030, maybe there is a period of time where power's out for, it wouldn't even take that long in America, especially say like LA, for total chaos to break out. God, you leave the power out for a week in LA, it would probably be a pretty bad scene. A month, forget about it. But again, just all the 201 stuff with, talking about population control and weather control, and Public Enemy putting out their album, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down, on the anniversary of JFK's weather control speech, which was September 25th. And based on that album cover, we were able to predict the Valentine's Day blackouts of 2021 because it showed the Valentine's state on the cover, Arizona, whose birthday is Valentine's Day. But again, a blind man, right? Like dark. You think of darkness when you're blind. You can't see anything. It's black. A blackout. L.A. Coolio. When I think of the Gangsta's Paradise music video, I haven't seen it in a minute, but I think of like dark streets, and he's in L.A., right? L.A. just had the Super Bowl 56 halftime show, and pretty much all the performers were black. It was Super Bowl 56. Remember, power outage equals 56. Like how What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down came out 56 days after Chuck D's birthday, the frontman for Public Enemy. And that album had a huge Ad Merum Dei Gloriam ritual in it as well. Again, that's the Jesuit motto shared with the Scottish Rite at the 32nd degree, which we talked about with Coolio dying, Coolio dying on the anniversary of the Stevie Wonder sample, but also his song coming out that used that sample on his 32nd birthday. The single for Gangsta's Paradise. Okay, so yeah, the teacher in Memphis, again, she's 34, the killer's 38, she's got the blood sacrifice numbers. The name of the church, St. Mary's Episcopal School, is 94, like Roman Catholic Church. Again, Coolio came out in 94, dead on the day leaving 94 days left in the year. His first album in 94. Hold up. And I mean, just think about his album from 94, It Takes the Thief. I think about that too, man, because the people that rule over us, they're pirates. Pirates. Thieves. You could make an argument that pirates are gangsters. And don't forget what they just did to Sidney Poitier. Dead 320 days after his 94th birthday, before the 94th Oscars, when his film that he won Best Actor for, the first black actor to win Best Actor, again, it was a 94-minute film about saving Catholic nuns in Arizona, which ended up being the last state to recognize Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And remember, last year you had your Monday Night Football playoff game on Martin Luther King Jr., where Arizona got spanked all over the place by the Rams. And what's funny is if you write out Monday Night Football, it equals 213, and then they win the Super Bowl on February 13th, 213, in the 213 area code, reminding that Tupac's album, All Eyes on Me, came out on 213, and he died 213 days later. But, and drive-by shootings 213, what they say he died from. That was the year after Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise came out. Again, Coolio dead right before the 118th World Series. Tupac dead on the 118 date numerology. LA connection. Death connection. But yeah, her school has the 94 connection. The word Catholicism alone, again, is 68, like Eliza Flesher as well. Her name's 67 forward, 68 in reverse, and she died 68 days before her November 9th birthday. So she died September 2nd in the time of the Virgin Mary. And again, the Queen's dead on the Virgin Mary's birthday, September 8th. The new Prime Minister's name is Mary, and the Queen on Netflix has a new actress whose name is Mary. Catholic. You know? They built the nation around us. The police who are going and investigating and doing the reports for all this stuff, which is where there's a lot of room for cover-up. They're part of the institutions built out of this ongoing agenda. This Jesuit, Masonic, secret society-based agenda. And again, there are other factions. There's Knights of Malta, there's Knights Templar, there's Knights of Columbus, there's all this stuff. But all roads do lead to Rome. Robert Cormier, actor, dead at 33 on September 23rd. Remember, that's the date, 23/9, 239, the 52nd prime. Remember, the year of Super Bowl 52, because of what Trump did that day, and because of knowing what we knew, we were able to project that the Super Bowl would be Eagles and Patriots. And we did give the Eagles a chance to win that Super Bowl. And we said if the Eagles win, Zach Ertz, number 86, will score the winning touchdown 86 days after his birthday because the national anthem was adopted 86 years earlier. And September 23rd is like 239, where the flag was sewn in Philadelphia at 239 Arch Street, and 239 is the 52nd prime. Noticed how the show that this man was most connected to was Heartland? Look at the gematria Heartland, you guys. Heartland, 52, right? Just take away take away land. The word, well, you notice Heartland's 83 and 38 is like murder as well. You know what? Heart is also 52 and 83. But the 52 part is what we're really focused on. Heart is 52 in the most simple way. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse numerology, Heartland is 52. The heart's been a big thing this year. Again, the abortion leak on 5-2, and then Roe versus Wade gets overturned by the numbers. And by the way, 5-2, May 2nd, the day of the leak. That's the 122nd day of the year. Abortion 122. Again, everything about abortion been taught way before it got overturned in the 122 ritual. Just all the years of Roe versus Wade and just all the abortion stuff in 122. Roe versus Wade was decided on January 22nd, 122 days after Jane Roe's birthday. This year, the memo leak was 94 days after Amy Coney Barrett's 50th birthday on the 122nd day of the year. And then I think when Biden addressed the overturning and tried to do his executive order, if I'm not mistaken, that was 40 days later. Again, that's why you got to know it forwards and backwards, gematria, and with the numerology, because all these numbers are used in the ritual. But after it got overturned, you saw all the people with the green pro-choice shirts who were disappointed, protesters. And again, green represents the heart chakra. So again, just all this focus on heart. We knew that they were coding this already, but again, it's just another wrap. Now you got the Heartland actor dead on an appropriate date. He died September 23rd. And every year we're talking about this day. That was the other year, the day the Pope spoke in D.C. Remember, the word Pope is 52 in the most simple cipher. 52 weeks in the year named after the Pope. And that was September 23rd, again, is the 266th day of the year. It's the 266th day of the year. Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. The Jesuit motto in their logo, IHS, is Jesus Hominum Salvator 266. Their other big logos in Merum Dei Gloriam, what we talked about earlier with the 32s. But yeah, Robert Cormier, he was also in a show, I wrote it backwards here. It's actually called Slasher Solstice. And, you know, you got your summer and winter solstices. There's probably more to think about here with this, but I got it backwards. You should actually write it the other way around, but it'll still be the same thing. I got to get rid of the equals 95. You see how it's 95? He did die September 23rd, but the news of his death first broke September 27th, which is the big Jesuit day, the day they were recognized by Roman history to counter the 95 Theses. And this other show he's in also has the 95 encoded. And the 58 stands out a bit because we are in the time of Pope Francis, whose name is 59 forwards, 58 in reverse. Again, Benedict stepped down on the 59th day of the year. The 59th presidential election allowed us to call why Biden would become number 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. Like how JFK was killed at age 46, and John F. Kennedy's also 59, and 59 is the 17th prime, and Joe Biden's born on the 17-year anniversary of Robert Kennedy's birthday, who was also assassinated like JFK. And again, I mean, there's an organic side to stuff, but does the world of politics look organic to you, or does it look highly contrived and ritualistic and full of nothing but deception every day? That's why I plead with people to stop saying everything's organic, even though there clearly is an organic side, because the manipulation that we see through our government and our television is just so transparent. Yesterday, did you guys see Robbie Parker was in the news, the Sandy Hook parent yesterday? Again, on the day leaving 93 days left in the year. Robbie Parker went on and told a story about being bullied by people online all these years who say he's a crisis actor. In all the articles, I took the time to write about 3 or 4 of these articles this morning from the mainstream about Robbie Parker's testimony yesterday on the day leaving 93 days left in the year. You see how Parker's 93? Again, it's that special number. Time rituals. It reminds that go look at the funerals for the date of the Sandy Hook children. It was in the time of Saturnalia. And Saturn's connected to ritual sacrifice. Saturn's also 93. Noah Posner, the child you hear the most about, his mom's name is 201. And for the record, with the 201 thing, Saturn worships 201. Don't forget Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. His name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, is also 201, and he's born on Saturnalia. And the phrase sacrifice to Saturn is also 201. Remember, last year on his birthday, the Indianapolis Colts lineman's son died, and Indianapolis is the only 201 city in America that's just had several 201 rituals in back-to-back years with the college football and college basketball championships. And the phrase Saturnian order is also, you see how it's 177, 69, and 201, and 93, like Saturn's 93? Look at the Jesuit order. The Jesuit order, 177, 69, 201. Notice how Saturn is also 69 and 93 as well. And Order of Illuminati, founded by the Jesuit, not only is it 201, it's also 93. Can say a lot about all those numbers. This year, Yom Kippur ends on 10-5. That might be something to think about. It starts on 10-4 as well, and Roman Catholic Church is 104. Yeah, better pay attention to Yom Kippur this year. It's always interesting on Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, every year. It never fails. Always all kinds of funny business going on. I was going to say one more. Oh, triclavianism. Here, let's make this point, actually, just since we brought up some things. You got to spell it right. It's the tricky thing. Triclavianism. There it is. Triclavianism is the Roman form of capital punishment, nailing people to a cross with 3 nails. And that's why in the Jesuit logo, you see the sun with the letters IHS with the 3 nails at the bottom. And again, you see the 201 and 93. Notice also the 150. Notice the 150 as well. Heliocentrism is 150 and 201. That's the model that says the sun is the center of the universe, and they say the sun is 150 million kilometers from the Earth on average, or 93 million miles. And notice how Illuminati has the 150 in it, whereas Order of Illuminati has the 93. Again, the source of light is the sun. The sun illuminates the moon landing on the 201st day of the year. Just all these rituals, right? It all starts to make sense when you realize what they're doing. And for the person who's new here is going, well, what about 258, 105? Go back and watch some other videos. Read some of my free books. All this stuff's been covered. You know, Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci aligned through the number 201 and 258. When Bill Gates started his vaccine alliance, understand, Anthony Fauci was business partners with Bill Gates' father and with Bill Gates. And they're all into the same kinds of things. And they were there for Event 201, the COVID simulation. But Bill Gates started his vaccine alliance on the 258th day of his age, which was Anthony Fauci's 201st day of his age. This year, Anthony Fauci came back from his COVID illness on the 201st day of his age, which was the 258th day of Bill Gates' age, and said, everybody make sure you go out and get vaccinated. I mean, just think about these things. You know, there's a lot more to say about it, but again, you say too much, and I might already said too much. This video might get taken down in 6 months for medical misinformation. You know, and it's so annoying because you do a 3-hour video and talk about COVID for 30 seconds in it, and just where it fits in with the other number patterns you're talking about, because you're trying to show the whole picture of who's running all things, and then they take down your whole video for medical misinformation. It's like, well, I didn't give any medical advice, and all I did was connected this simulation and the Jesuit characters in it. By the way, William Henry Gates, who recently got divorced. And it's funny, in my last book, before their divorce, I predicted that they were only married in the years in advance that they were for the planned, killer germ outbreak that started in their city, Seattle. But Bill Gates' full name is William Henry Gates, which is also 201 and 258. So, but yeah, coming back to Robbie Parker. I can't think of here, let me see. Noah Posner mother. I just want to get her name up here for you. Noah Posner was one of the people buried on Saturnalia. You know what? Yeah, her name's going to be different with that howler part. So normally when they put her on TV, it's funny that her name is 113 this way. I've never seen her name this way, actually. But notice how Sandy Hook Elementary School is 113. Again, it's a number from the Talmud that has to do with deception. And Stoneman Douglas High School is 113. And again, it was like the same story, but an older group of kids. The first photo out for both was children walking in a line with their hands on their shoulders. Anyway, her name is not normally with the howler. Her name is normally just like this. When she's on TV, and I've taken screenshots of this before. When she's on TV, that's how her name is. Notice, it's like the same numbers that I just had up there for William Henry Gates, right? These are the people on TV telling you about problems and what we need to do to solve them, right? We need to solve them doing it this way. And again, 20184, the Jesuit Order, 20184, Order of Illuminati, 201258. And, words like Freemason, 96, Satanism, 96. There's a lot of satanic stuff that gets intertwined with this. The founder of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey, he died 201 days before the Pope's birthday and 201 days after his own birthday. Founded in San Francisco, named after St. Francis of Assisi, like Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope. And Pope Francis, San Francisco, and Satanic, they all equal 122, like the cities on the 122nd Meridian West, like how so is Seattle. And Bill Gates got his COVID jab on January 22nd, the anniversary of Roe vs. Wade, where his father had a lot to do with that. His father, one of the big pushers of that, because he was the man behind Planned Parenthood. In 2010, Bill Gates gave that speech about how we can reduce the Earth's population. I mean, seriously, Stevie, somebody left a comment yesterday, how can Stevie Wonder write a song like Pastime Paradise if he can't even see the world? I don't know if you necessarily need to see the world with your own eyes to understand the way the world is. You can learn about it just from how people treat you. And, maybe that phrase isn't even fair when you say even a blind man could see it. The eye that is blind for almost everybody is the one inside the mind. That mind's eye that's supposed to be able to help us see like right and wrong and project and what could happen if we do this and why I should do this because then it'll make it go this way. This thing is not working for most people. It is not working. Hold on, I forgot to say one more thing about Weird Al. You see how he's 62 years old right now when this happens? And you see how he was born in 59, Weird Al? Look at this. That album where he made fun of Coolio with Amish Paradise. You see how it's got the 62 in it? You see how it's actually a lot like Sacrifice. It's a lot like Sacrifice. So anyway, the sacrifice happens of Coolio, again, on the 46-year anniversary of the sample song for Gangsta's Paradise, the Stevie Wonder song being released. And while Weird Al is 62, and again, just all this stuff being biblical, right? 73 books in the Catholic Bible, 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. Again, Genesis 46 and Sacrifice. Genesis is the first book of the Torah as well. You see how Torah is also 6273 and Elohim. It's also 62. Anyway. But yeah, I think I also cut myself off in the middle of this thought about Robbie Parker. Again, I read 4 articles on this guy, and not a single one mentioned why he became the focus of the YouTube. You know what? Let's stop using this word conspiracy and start referring to ourselves as the questioning community. Because ultimately, that's what I've always done. Question things. If things don't add up, I really question it a lot more. Question everything. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some things that don't need to be questioned, but a lot of things deserve questioning. And if you ask questions, oftentimes you'll get the answers that you're looking for. It might take longer than you think, and it might take more work than you want to put in, but there's benefits to knowing the answers to questions. There's some people who probably have questions their whole life that they never get answered, and had they gotten them answered, it might have made their life better. Put them on a better path somehow, some way. Put them on a better financial path, health path. But anyway, none of the articles talk about why he became the focus. It's just this poor man has been so demonized by people online over the death of his daughter that he had to essentially go into hiding. And it's funny that they tell a story of him being in Seattle and getting confronted on the street in the CNN article. I got to think more about that one. I'd actually never heard this before. I just read this. But again, they do it on the most fitting day to bring this guy back. Parker, propaganda, Saturn, all those things relate to Sandy Hook. Gematria is about putting words together that go together. The definition of propaganda is essentially the state using things to move people psychologically. Our state is moving against our Constitution through stories like Sandy Hook. Point blank, period. That is propaganda. It can be irrelevant, and it can still be used as propaganda to destroy a nation. And again, the funeral's on Saturnalia, and again, his own surname. But that none of them talked about why he became the focus. He became the focus because he was doing this. He was talking to some people over here and having a good time. And then it was obvious that somebody cued him, and he was like, earlier today. I don't even want to do it anymore because they'll say I'm bullying. That's what's annoying about this time. I can't even imitate what he did. And that's exactly what he did. He's laughing and chopping it up over here. He's having a good old time. And then all of a sudden he realizes he has to suck it in and get on cue and do a sad face about how his daughter was murdered earlier in the day. It's like, come on, man. Everyone should be questioning that. Hey, Robbie Parker. If Robbie Parker wants to respond to this instead of having Noah Posner's supposed father take down this video again in another YouTube channel, let's have a discussion about what you were doing that day. I just can't imagine, people can go through different states. Maybe he was in a manic phase. Let's have him explain it. But it just seemed like he was way too happy and cheery with whoever he was talking to over there on the day that his daughter was murdered. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine. I've never even had my own children, but just from working with children, just having relationships as teachers, working daily with them at group home, teen home, all the places I've worked with children, I can't imagine that in a day where a child that I worked with, had they been murdered, even that I work with, that at any point in that day would I be so cheery and happy and chumming it up over here with whoever's off camera. I just can't imagine it. And how come nobody talked about that in the story? Why isn't there an explanation? If there is an explanation that he was in some kind of phase, that should be explained in the story. But they just talk, all these stories that were written totally ignore that and just talk about it like, just people picked him out and bullied him. And that's annoying. That's a false story. And what else would I expect from the mainstream media? That with each passing day, I can question less and less on platforms where you can actually put it out to reach people. I live in a small town. You guys see what it is when I go out in the corner for 60-some days. We get people that honk and celebrate. We might get one woman to come out and pound pavement for a month and a half before she burns out. But she did do a good job, though, Meg. She did a good job while she was out there. And she did tell us that, she was going through some pharmaceutical pill change and things seemed to totally change there, and then she was out of there. But it was great while she was out there. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Robbie Parker was on some kind of medicine, and he was just having a really crazy day because of what happened. And that's just who Robbie Parker is. Normally, he's just the happiest, funniest, laughing guy. And for a moment, he was caught in that before he was reminded that he was going on TV to talk about. Maybe he forgot about the death of his daughter. He was trying to block it out of his mind. I don't know. I'm making excuses for him right now. Why don't they acknowledge that? Why didn't they write that anywhere in the story? Why don't they talk about Dr. H. Wayne Carver, who's now dead? The guy that was laughing as well on TV that day as he answered questions about the children's autopsy. Or it wasn't that day, it was like a couple days later. You know, they're asking about the autopsy. He's like, oh, you know, they were cute kids wearing cute kid stuff. I mean, it just seems like a weird thing to say, talking about autopsies of children that supposedly were shot to pieces. Remember they just said in the latest 201 shooting, well, it wasn't even the latest, there's been 5 more since, but one of them not too distantly, Uvalde in Texas, 201 days after Matthew McConaughey's birthday, he went to the White House by the numbers and held up the 201 Converse, you know. But they said that they could only identify the victim by her shoes because she was shot to pieces. I mean, that sounds like something out of a bad 80s movie. Like RoboCop's got some serious gore when they hack the police officer to pieces. But, I mean, can you really shoot a person into so many pieces that they can only be identified by their shoes? That's what they reported in this media. The same media that is always giving us all this emotional crap that's meant to really disturb us so that we'll give up more rights and liberties, you know? And now you can only be on YouTube and be you if you regurgitate what you see on the news. So I guess to be a you have to be a news bot, according to the technocrats who want us all living in virtual reality by 2030. You'll own nothing and be happy. You won't even have to wear clothes anymore. You'll be in a sensation tub. It'll be looking like The Matrix. That's what's scary, man. That movie, The Matrix, is like, how far are they going with this? It better not get to the point where I'm hooked up, living in virtual reality, and I'm hooked up in some wet tub with all these rods and things attached to me. My God. If you guys haven't seen The Matrix, that's the most disturbing part of the movie. It's like, I hope to God this is not ever going to be real. It's like something just leeching off all the bodies that don't even know where their real physical body is. And we're seeing this stuff more and more, aren't we? We've seen like offers from big tech companies that they'll promise you eternal life in the digital world if you give up your body. It's like, what? It's that Transcendence Johnny Depp movie from a decade ago. Okay, so this news, the hype for this for Ketanji Brown Jackson, the hype for this began yesterday, September 29th, the day leaving 93 days left in the year. Again, I've talked about Black History in 93 a million times. Carter G. Woodson's Mr. 93, Black History Month's 93, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., a million more people got the 93 on them. So on the day leaving 93 days left in the year, they start hyping this, and then they do it today, September 30th, 930. And again, as a reminder, Ketanji Brown Jackson, she's the 116th Supreme Court Justice in the history of the court. In the most simple cipher, African Americans 116, the first African American female. You see how African Americans also 71 in the most pure cipher? So is Ketanji Brown Jackson. So is Kamala Devi Harris, the first black woman in the Oval Office. And you see how African Americans 289 in reverse? From Ketanji's September 14th birthday to the day she was officially confirmed, 289 days later. Perfect ritual. And here again, just to show you, Ketanji Brown Jackson, 71. And also Kamala Devi Harris, 71. Remember the film Birth of a Nation about Nat Turner, who was put to death on a 71 date numerology? Supposedly only grossed $7.1 million in its opening weekend in the box office. And there was one more piece about it I'm forgetting right now. But anyway, they said Joe Biden carried 71% of the African-American vote, a whole bunch of stuff. They use these numbers all the time ritualistically. And then, of course, she's Joe Biden's pick. And Joe Biden made the one criteria for the Supreme Court this time to be of race and gender. And they got us so focused on race and gender right now, don't they? Don't they? And I'm amazed at the way people don't see. I understand how we've been programmed and mind controlled, but I'm amazed that it doesn't break apart for more people than it does. Obviously, it breaks apart for some of us because that's why we're here. And sometimes there's a new person here who's like, "Whoa, this is blowing my mind." I mean, I can't tell you how many times people have to comment and say, "This might be the first thing that actually did wake me up." And again, if you stay with this, you're going to realize this really is what they're doing day after day. It's undeniable. Celebrity, federal government, news, sports.
another 35 Thursday last night. It's just last night 35 Thursday was trickier because the Bengals coach could either stay on 35 all-time career losses or pick up his 35th loss in the regular season. And we did have a hunch that the home team might take it last night, meaning he'd stay on 35 because, again, it's the 103rd NFL season. Things keep becoming 10-3 by the home team winning last night. It made home teams 8-3 on primetime. The last primetime game to conclude this week will be on 10-3. So do the math on what would have to happen in the next two home games. If it happens in Sunday Night Football, there'd be a good narrative for the upset in Monday Night Football. And again, you learn this knowledge from news to sport. That 10-3 pattern's been smashing all year in games. Like last week, Miami. Tua became 10-3 at home, upsetting Buffalo. Just week after week, they're paying tribute to this 10-3 thing. Here, I just want to make a point, too, about what just happened with Ian in Tampa. Again, Ian in the most pure cipher is 15, and the most simple it's 24. Like there was a emergency declared for 24 counties, and it was the news on the 24th. But Tampa in the most pure cipher is 15 like Ian, and Tampa Bay is 79, and Ian hit Tampa on the 79 date numerology. But notice how Hurricane is 52 and 56. So the last time a hurricane passed through Tampa was last year, and it was the day that the Tampa Bay Lightning won, or God, was that 2 years ago? Whatever the coronavirus Stanley Cup season was with the shortened season, Tampa won the Stanley Cup, and they won their 52nd game of the year winning it because it was a shortened season due to COVID, right? So on the day they win the Stanley Cup, which was their 52nd win, the hurricane passed through Tampa. And again, in 2017, handful of years before that, Vice News wrote the article making fun of me about rig sports, hurricanes in 52, and how we predicted the Astros would beat the Dodgers in the World Series that began 52 days after the first game in Houston after the flooding of Harvey where Matt Harvey pitched. And anyway, Hurricane 52 forwards. In reverse, it's 56. This year, Tampa got hit 56 days after Tom Brady's birthday. And of course, since Tom Brady went to Tampa, they've won the Stanley Cup 2 times. Is that right? Did Tampa win it back? Or did they win one and lose one? I'm losing track. But Tampa Bay Lightning been dominating and getting to the Stanley Cup. Tampa Bay Rays lost in the World Series to the Dodgers. And, of course, Brady won the Super Bowl for Tampa. So there's been several championships since he got down there. And, again, we've been showing how news, sports, weather, how it's all connected for a long time. Hurricane Katrina and the Saints was an obvious example. And notice, they won Super Bowl 44 after Katrina. And Mayor Ray Nagin had all these 44 connections, but Saints 44. Again, you guys, it's not an accident. And they're saying that the game, because of the hurricane, they might have to move it to Minnesota. There's a lot of football stadiums they could move it to that are closer to Minnesota. Are they moving it to Minnesota because it equals 52? You know what I mean? But yeah, it was the hurricane just passed through Tampa 56 days after Brady's birthday, with Super Bowl 56 just behind us. And that does also mean that the hurricane passed through on his 57th day of his age. So that's a narrative to follow. And again, I know people can't wrap their minds around this, but if you download my ebook, Letters and Numbers, here, give me a second to pull this up. I'm going to pull up my first book, Letters and Numbers, and I'm going to show you about the World Series earthquake and why Jose Canseco was the last thing shown on the television. Let me see if I got it here. Here it is. Okay, I got to get this up on the screen for you. Again, in 1989, you had the World Series earthquake between San Francisco and Oakland, so the Bay Area. And okay, there it is. Just having trouble finding it. Let me zoom this in. Okay. But if you go back and watch the footage of the 1989 World Series earthquake, it's just before the game begins, and they're showing the highlight of the last game of the winning run for Oakland, and the last thing you see is Jose Canseco, number 33, crossing his home plate and celebrating. And then it cuts to fuzz. Back in the day, if the TV signal got cut, it went black and white, made the staticky sound. Looked like a blizzard almost. But anyhow, the earthquake happened on Jose Canseco's 107th day of his age. His name in gematria equals 107, like earthquake. In the Frank Baconis cipher, baseball is also 107. But his name with numerology is also 55, like earthquake. But again, it happened on his 107th day of his age. And I'm surprised I didn't put it there in that list, but I'd probably already made the point earlier in the chapter. Again, look at earthquake. You see the gematria? 107, 44, 55. Look at military, right? Whoops, I hit something. Military, 107, 44, 55. And again, weather also has overlap with military. It has the 109 connection. But all of this stuff is like, it's like, because it's like, how did they have this planned out? And again, you guys, we've been lied to about everything. Is it possible that humanity was something even greater than we ever were, more technologically advanced in the past, and it was all destroyed and forgotten about? And then slowly humanity came back? And there's so many different things that could be. Again, the one thing that's always confusing about this lifetime is just how technology is always improving. Technology in terms of computers and cell phones and screens and cameras and all sorts of stuff, right? Especially cameras. Gone crazy with the cameras and screens. I guess it's easier to bring the world stage that you want everybody to see to their face if you're the master of the screen. It's like the Wizard of Oz. But it is like, how do they line up words like military and earthquake like this and then do what they do? You know, what they keep doing in Mexico with the quakes on the 19th. Again, we refer to earthquakes as quakes. The word quake itself is 19. Mexico now, 3 big earthquakes all on the same day. I mean, we'll be here all day if I keep going back over everything, but yeah, again, I mean, there is an organic side to the code. It does seem that there's something to spell casting and spells and magic, but then there's also technology, and it really does feel that the world elite, L, right? L, the Saturn call, elite. Again, you start to think about the words we have. Like, people don't want to use those words, but I think we should use them. We refer to these people as the elite. It starts to make sense. L is the Saturn cult. And again, we just see how it's all connected. The first Jesuit Pope, the symbolism, the rituals and numbers, the Aleister Crowleys of the world. Again, all the pieces of the puzzle, they're all out there. And you gotta look hard enough and test the theory to make sure you got the right idea. And I know that most of the ideas I'm putting out on this channel are correct. Maybe more things are actually organic. Well, and in a way, we have to understand what we're saying behind this. When more organic, maybe more from the spiritual sorcery side than we give credit to. Maybe lesser Agent 47, the hitman showing up. Maybe more are from the wicked, demonic, clip-off, evil side of the tree of life. Maybe. We're only going to figure that out through enough people having the knowledge and observation in the world. But again, even if it is evil sorcery that's making it happen, by being aware of how this, it doesn't mean you should go out and start casting spells and trying to do this to the people you don't like. Then you become part of the problem. But just being aware of these things, it could be helpful. What if, I mean, we've covered it a million times. Again, Coolio dead at 59 on the 59 date numerology on the 59th day of his age. What if on 59 date numerology, we had enough people in this community who are black men just pay attention and survey. See that, but then when things are in your mind, you can bring negativity into your life, being aware of it too. That's the double-edged sword of all things. But the point I'm trying to make is, if it wasn't someone who was like creating the problem because they're paranoid and projecting all this fear, bringing attention to it, if there's just the guy who's like aware of it, but just goes about his day like it's any other day, but somehow in that day just something comes his way that he was totally not trying to bring into his life, or it just came, like some negative thing, flat tire, some kind of unwarranted problem with a person in society, maybe even a racist person. If we had enough people documenting things like this and this was going on, maybe we'd figure out that, yeah, they did. This is when they created this language, the spelling, they did put something on there, and it does somehow like more viciously attack the black community on a date that has these numbers. Because we know that it's the same thing going on. But again, when I look at the stuff in the news, the ritual is too perfect. And I just look at how who runs these industries, the same people who are aware of this stuff, and that's where it feels like a lot of manipulation to me. So I'm going to continue to talk about this over and over in circles as I work it through my own mind, just based on some of the things I've witnessed from, again, I've just seen so many synchronicities over the years that I point out, but I've never seen so much like this New York trip. And again, we're in a place that has big energy, right? It's like energy's coming together, and then just very interesting Twilight Zone-y type of things transpiring. And let's not forget the Twilight Zone's also 201, or what day Rod Serling's birthday is. Again, Rod Serling's the founder of the Twilight Zone. And let me get him up here. Again, his birthday is that day. They celebrate the sun's birthday. And then he died on June 28th, which is a big day for these psychopaths as well. That's Elon Musk's birthday right now. It's the day my first YouTube channel got deleted. Big day in Rosemary's Baby. But, yeah, that's oh, I forgot to switch the screen back. Get Rod Serling back up here. Okay, let's see. Zoom it out. Whoops. Hitting all the wrong buttons. How far do I got to zoom it out? Oh, shoot, it messed up the whole screen. That's what's wrong. Okay. Oh, there we go. There we go. Could definitely work on my video editing skills. But anyhow, God, I never realized how short Rod Serling was before. Has he always been that short on Wikipedia? 5'4", really? 5'4". I see why these psychopaths would do that, man. Again, look at this, you guys. The Twilight Zone, right, is 201. It's also 201 and 84 like the Jesuit order. Well, and 69 like the Jesuit order. It's 201 and 204 like Jewish mysticism, which is also 69. And remember, Illuminati got that 69 as well. New World Order's got that 69. Big number. Catholic Church celebrates the birthday on Christmas Day. But anyway, Rod Serling, he's Mr. the Twilight Zone, and he's 5'4", supposedly. I'm going to look and see if that's anywhere else written besides that Google thing. But the word sun is 54, since his birthday is the birthday of the sun. And again, the Jesuit logo is the sun. Jesuit order's also got that 54. But hold on. Is this reported anywhere else that Rod Serling is 5'4" tall? I mean, that's pretty short for a man. Well, I guess it depends on where you are in the world. There's parts of the world where that's the normal height. The Reddit is also using that information. This person on Twitter was saying, I'm 5'4", but so was Rod Serling. So I guess it's been on the internet for a while that he's 5'4", but that jumps out to me today. That jumps out to me today. I never noticed that. I'm not normally paying attention to people's height. Usually just their birthdays and date of death, but huh. And again, the pilot episode of the Twilight Zone, sending the manned moon mission. Then the moon landing ends up being on the 201st day of the year. Predictive programming. All right, hold on. Somebody gave a super chat. Let me say thank you to the super chatter, and then I better get back to the task at hand. But I'm still going to try to put in a video on a stream each day. Feel bad if I don't get any content out there. But yeah, this will be the last room I clear out here at the office, because if I take everything out of here, it's just nothing but an echo chamber. I got to keep the books on the shelves and everything. Before long, though, we'll have a little bit different office. So, all right, shout out. Hey, Logan Thomas chipped in $5, and so did Caprentis Ferguson. Caprina says, thanks for the continued education. You're welcome. Glad you, that makes me think the stream must have been okay. I feel like I've been disjointed in this one, but Gary also chipped in $5. That must mean there was $15 in donations. It said $10, but I see $15 in super chats. Zach, tell him about the French 201 language picture. I will. I'll do that in just a second. And first, I got to say this thing about Logan Thomas. So look at the gematria of Logan and Thomas, right? In the most pure cipher, Logan's 22, Thomas is 22, and Logan's 49 and 22, and also actually 86 like Crash. So I talked about how there were all these accidents on the 22nd, right? Saeed, who's 49 years old, got in his first crash of his life on September 22nd, 220 days after his Valentine's Day birthday. My dad, actually, now that I say that his birthday is Valentine's, Oregon's birthday is Valentine's Day. And my dad's always lived in Oregon his whole life. And his wife, who he's remarried, is not my mom. Sweet lady always says, I wish his wife was your mom. It's because my dad's new wife is a sweet little lady from Mexico that hardly talks at all, just laughs all the time and makes food. And my mom is very opinionated and wants to argue about everything. You could tell my mom the best news ever, and she would turn it into an argument. You'd be like, how does this person do this? But anyway, Logan Thomas, again, all these wrecks on the 22nd, and one of them was my dad getting hit. My dad drives a bus. Somebody just crashed into his bus at full speed while he was stopped for a good while at the light. And then it turned out the person was having a gout attack and an emergency and trying to get to the hospital, so probably driving like crazy, but wrecked into the back of a parked bus. And again, I told that story and how my dad's been in 2 accidents now, and both of them, the cross street was 117th. So I got to tell my dad to watch out on November 7th and July 11th, it sounds like. But Marisha, looking at what the 117th day of the year is. What is that? April 27th. And the day leaving 117 days left in the year, which is, what is that? August. I have to double check that. I don't have that right now in my head. But anyway, Logan, when I heard when he heard the story, he confirmed that it was close to 122nd. And it's funny because that's where my dad said his bus route was taking him to, was 122nd when he got hit on 117th. But Logan apparently lives in the area and drove back. He's like, that I saw the bus crashed into. That was your dad's bus. That's crazy. So how funny that on that day, somebody who follows my channel drove past the bus where my dad was in a wreck. And then his name too, man. I mean, what are the odds of that? His name, Logan, is 22 and Thomas is 22. That's the kind of stuff that's just like, okay. Is it the Matrix? Is it the Matrix? And again, when I asked my dad about his last wreck, when we were drawing the parallels, because it was on 117th, I said, can you remember what day it was? He goes, well, look up what day the Blazers were playing Utah in January of 98. And then I did, but I was like, it's funny you remember it through the Utah game, because Utah is the 22 team. So, life is too weird. But yeah, if you got here late, probably not the best stream. I'd probably, if I have to score my own streams just based on how it felt like it went, I'd score this stream a solid 5 out of 10, meaning it wasn't the worst. But the presentation could have been a lot more put together. And I think it's because I didn't sleep real well last night. We ate Lepetto, which is this tea leaf salad, too late. We don't normally eat it so late, and then I couldn't sleep. And I think it had Sweet Lady like restless in the bed because I caught a bow last night. Luckily, Sweet Lady's not that big, but I got smacked in the head with a bow. Bam! So anyway, a little bit off my game, and do got to get back to the all the moving and crap to do stuff when you do move. And anyway, it's coming together though. That's the good news. It's coming together. And for all you sports people, tomorrow we'll do the football stream. And I see Gary saying the only time I ever crashed. Well, Gary, hold on. Before we go, I got to show Gary had the find of the day yesterday for the Truth Seekers. I did post it on my Twitter page. I know all these social media platforms suck, but still like to use them anyway because try to put something on there that might spark somebody's mind each day. So this is what Gary found. Isn't this funny? Barron's 201 French words you need to know. And again, the Jesuits are originally from France. Remember, the last French pope was the 201st pope. The first Jesuit pope is Pope Francis, who's the first to live in Suite 201, whose birth name is 201, like the founder of the Jesuits, blah, blah, blah. And here, let's see. They got French words in blue. French words, 56 and 61. Paris, France, 56. I guess I was thinking there was some 61 with France, but both those numbers connect to the Society of Jesus. So, okay, French words has that old 56 in it. And remember, in English, light is 56, and in Hebrew, light is 201. There's this big relationship with 56 and 201. Society of Jesus, 56, the Jesuit order, 201. Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, 201. He died in the year 1556. Again, the word pope itself has the 56 in it, and Catholic pope has the 201. 56, 201. Event 201, the first case of COVID as it originally was December 12th, a span of 56 days from the event. And then they backed it all the way up to November 17th, which is 201 days in history after the Church of Satan was established, founded by Mr. 201 himself, Anton LaVey, who died in the huge 201 ritual. And then we all know that event 201, the simulation before that was Clade X, 666 days before the pandemic. You can't get more satanic. But yeah, Barron's 201 French words you need to know. I would love to know. This would be a fun book to get and decode. I bet it's full of gems. Let's see. The phrase you need to know. You need to know is in red. Oh, look at that. How about that? Did I not? Look at that. 6156, right? French words. Hold on. 6156, 164. You need to know. Huh. Do you guys think this is a coincidence right here? You think this is just the organic side that they chose? You think they organically chose 201 words? I don't. Here, let's see what the new Orwellian updated definition is of Baron. Well, Baron is, that is traditionally what it is, a publication, newspaper, and magazine. But what is the true definition of a baron? I guess it's actually spelled with one R, so it's a little bit different. A member of the lowest order of the British nobility. The term baron is not used as a form of address in Britain. Baron usually being referred to as lord. An important or powerful person in a specified business or industry. Okay. Well, important people seem to know a little bit more about language than us, as George Orwell would call us, proles. And here, let's try it out this way. French words you need to know. 320, like Roman Catholic Church. Remember, Roman Catholic Church. Here. 320 and 94. Sidney Poitier dead 320 days after his 94th birthday. 193 is the 44th prime. Will Smith. Will Smith ends up winning Best Actor at the 94th, right after his death. And again, his role in what's the movie called, The Degrees of Separation, where he plays the burglar who pretends to be Sidney Poitier's son. But again, from Will Smith's birthday, or excuse me, from the day that Sidney Poitier, or no. It is from Will Smith's birthday to today. He won Best Actor, was 183 days later, after the death of Sidney Poitier at 94. And then at the 94th Best Actors, and again, his film, Sidney Poitier's, was 94 minutes long about saving Catholic nuns. Okay. But also, George Floyd pulled out of the Mercedes ML320, killed in front of Police Cruiser 320 along Interstate 94 that goes through the Twin Cities in the time of Gemini. And the ritual synced up with the Twin Towers and Virgo. But again, the 320 and 94. And then the story came out right after his death about his teacher, Waynell Sexton, who remembered what a good little sweet boy he was, as the Catholic Church in Minnesota settled for $22.5 million for sexual abuse of children after George Floyd died on his 225th day of his age. And the thing that the Catholics do, the Trinitarian formula, has that Gematria 225 connection. But again, also the Jewish holidays coming up. Yom Kippur, the big one, on 10/4 and ends on 10/5. So we'll see. It's extra hairy times. Yom Kippur could get extra interesting. Let's think about that. Tomorrow will be the 1st, a Saturday. So next Saturday's the 8th. So Thursday's the 6th. Wednesday's the 5th. Tuesday's the 4th. Yeah. Tuesday's the 4th. That was a weird way I just went in my mind about finding the date. Anyway, that's what I mean. That's why this stream's a 5 out of 10. Everything's a little off. But yeah, great find by Gary. I realize that book is not very big either. I got to get myself a copy of that book. It's cool that there's also a bookstore wherever Gary is. Those things are hard to come by these days. All right, hold on. French words. I just want to see the whole title. You need to know. It's also got it's got the 122 in it, like Isus Hominum Salvator, Jesuit motto. Pope Francis is also 122. It's got the 112 like the Jesuits claim to operate in 112 countries. Both Catholicism and mathematics 112 in the most simple cipher. 1 + 1 is 2. And it's barons. So Barron's 201 French words you need to know. 158 like 15/8, Jesuit birthday. 433 is the 84th prime. Jesuits 84. The Catholic Church is 84. The Jesuit Order is 84. Again, Castro, who was a Jesuit, died 433 days after shaking hands with Pope Francis, whose birth numerology is 84. 163 is the 38th prime. And again, this ties in with Jewish mysticism, the whole 201 thing. But Kabbalah's 38, Jews 38. Our language, English, is 38. That's a book about French words written in English. Gematria, again, 38. DC on the 38th parallel north. We just saw the headline about Fauci stepping down after 38 years. Who's been the Jesuit at the top of NIH since 84. So, what do you know? What do you know? It is amazing, though, how they taught us the alphabetic order when we were in kindergarten, and then they just left us hanging. And our teachers didn't know, because they learned from teachers who didn't know. And sadly, the people who do know, they're not sharing it with the others, so. I don't know why people keep asking any numbers on Dahmer. Don't I keep addressing it in every live stream? I just shared Amy's. Do you guys actually watch my videos or just come to the chat and ask for me to answer your questions immediately? We were just talking about how the new Jeffrey Dahmer show has 201 coded all over it. And again, he's next to Marquette, the Jesuit University that's at the beginning of Tommy Boy that starts with test number 201. Here, I'll promote Amy's website real quick again. She's doing great work. cracktheircode.org. She's putting up a lot of posts. Today the thumbnails aren't loading properly. Let me see. I will put up her post right here. See, it's right here on Dahmer. And there's a lot of things that are encoded in this. You got the 322, which is Skull and Bones, the Brotherhood of Death. You got the 191 Society of Jesus, 97 Roman Catholicism and Death. But the actor they got, well, there's a lot of things here. We covered this the other night. The actor, though, let me see. The actor they got to play the part, Evan Thomas Peters. See how he's 201? And his birthday's January 20th, 20/1. Like Beau Biden dead at 46, 201 days for the Pope's birthday. And then Joe Biden sworn in on 20/1 is number 46. Like how JFK killed at 46, the Pope he spoke with, his name 201. And again, the Jesuit priest who did the funeral for Beau Biden at age 46 and the inauguration for Joe Biden as number 46 on 20/1, Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, 201, former president of Georgetown. But we just know this stuff. Again, there is an organic side, but it's just too much. It's too perfect. It's all the time. It's like when we have these organic synchronicities, it's not like it's happening to us every day and the same thing. Well, for some people, maybe it is like Groundhog's Day on certain days each year, but it's like if you pay attention to the news media cycles, it is the same thing day after day, year after year, the same type of rituals, the same type of number patterns. And again, Jeffrey Dahmer just happens to be right next to the Jesuit school. And it was funny being at Marquette because the tallest building in the area there in Milwaukee is Catholic Financial Life. And it was amazing just how in that whole region of the country, it seemed like every hospital you drove by was this Catholic hospital or St. Francis Hospital. And I was just like, how don't people in this region? I mean, it's just, it gets way more Catholic out there in the eastern part of the country. And I guess maybe in a way that makes sense, because I bet the same people who had the instinct to move across the ocean from the Catholic Church were the same ones who were like, fuck it, I just came all distances, but I'm going even further west. These Catholics are everywhere out here. So, they're out here on the West Coast too. Let's not make anything about it, but I don't see like Catholic Financial Life skyscrapers on the West Coast and this Catholic. They are out here, but it just seemed like they were everywhere as I was driving through the East Coast. It was blowing my mind. And then when I drove into Minneapolis on Interstate 94 and saw just the huge Catholic buildings, it just put all the George Floyd stuff right in my head. I said, no wonder. I mean, this you're just seeing here. It's like, how could a city be any more Catholic than the Twin Cities are? Yeah, but hey, Amy's blog is cracktheircode.org. She's doing really great work, you guys. So support her work. I'm sure she sees somewhere on her page it shows daily views. It's encouraging when all of a sudden there's a big jump in your views. If you guys got a minute to hop on cracktheircode.org and see what her latest posts are, do it. We need to keep these people inspired. I don't know Amy. I just know she stepped up and she's doing great work. She leaves a super chat every now and then. She's financially contributing. She's contributing her time and energy to do the work. If everyone was working like Amy, I know we'd be changing the world. So help support the people who are doing something to change the world. She's one of them that's out here. And again, sometimes it is nice to see that your stats are going up. It's encouraging. I was making the point that a lot of people have come along like Amy and then they've gone away. And I just assume when people come and go, I assume that they got burnout or something came up in life and they don't have the time anymore. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen. But again, taking the time to check out somebody's work who's trying to make the difference. That makes all the difference for the content creator. So, shout out to BK. Thank you very much. That's very generous. 45 British pounds. If I'm not mistaken, the dollar and the pound are now pretty close to equivalent again. It's again, all the world currencies are pegged to the dollar, and they're making the dollar much more powerful in the time of all this, but not for buying power. It's ultimately bad for everybody, but it's like America's doing better than most nations when it comes to the inflation thing right now. Like I tell you, sweet ladies, Burma's out of control. But yeah, you guys, I do got to get off and do other ththings, and this stream did go longer than I intended it for. I have a bad habit of that. Oh my God, it's almost already been 2 hours. But yeah, I think you guys can understand why I'm so redundant. It's just, I always know there's new people here. There's always so much to talk about. I feel like I'm always cutting myself short, because if I don't, we'll be here for 10 hours in every stream, but I do got to say, it is very frustrating to just watch this stuff happen and just still no buzz. I'm going to end this stream by closing it out this way. Dane Calloway. If Dane Calloway is out there, I need to collaborate with Dane Calloway, because I know he's given me a shout out some few times, and I did see that he had a video up on Coolio, but what the video was Coolio talking about Dane Calloway. So Dane Calloway's making some waves, and we need people making waves to help get this knowledge out more. Dane Calloway has helped get out the knowledge, but he could get it out a lot more. So Dane, if you're out there, let's collaborate, and let's help wake a bunch of people up, man. So I saw Dane Calloway said he's sad that Coolio's dead, because they were planning on working on projects together to try to do big things, and now the opportunity's gone. And again, I mean, that's what I've been saying this whole time. I mean, this knowledge needs to get out there. Maybe in a different world, had this knowledge gotten out there in a big way, maybe Coolio was more on his guard on his 59th day of his age, at age 59, on a 59 date numerology. Or maybe Coolio also knew that that's what he signed up for back in the 90s. But I mean, you listen to his interviews, he seems like a genuine guy, and he like he said in that clip from months back, he's not into all this evil stuff. He wouldn't do that. That's why I always tell people to listen to the David Bowie song too, Rock and Roll Suicide, about these people having to make choices that they're too young to be making those decisions when they enter this stardom. Coolio was a little bit older for an entertainer because he was in his 30s, right? A lot of these people hit the entertainment world in their late teens, early 20s. So, but yeah, maybe just Coolio was chosen because he was the right age for the planned moment. Again, this is happening to him at this really dirty moment in history. Just so much focus on so many negative things. His songs about, the darkness in this world, and like so many songs are. And yeah, it just, I don't know. One closing thought again, just the Stevie Wonder being blind, darkness, the Dangerous Minds movie, the topic, the music video for Gangsta's Paradise being really dark, just all the predictive programming. A decade ago, Janet Napolitano saying, that the next 9/11 is not if, but when. It's the power grid going down in a big way. Public Enemies, What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down, synced up with the Valentine's Day blackouts. It's just, yeah. We got to get the knowledge out there. If you're out there, Dane Calloway, let me get, if somehow you guys aren't aware of Dane Calloway, he does write books. He's on all the podcasting platforms. That's what I need to start doing. I've been wanting to do something separate because some people said I can just download my YouTube videos and re-upload them as podcasts. I would feel like that's cheating. Maybe that's not a dumb thing to do in the interim. But when I started a podcast, I want it to be something separate. And I want it to have a little bit different culture than like GematriaEffectNews. Because I do love Gematria and I want to talk about it. But just too often, because too often in my call-in shows, people are calling in and doing long decodes on things that most people aren't that interested in, and it just doesn't make for good radio. I want, if I ever do a podcast, I want it to be more reachable to more people. I want Gematria to be a part of it. Like, it's like maybe we start the show with a strong example and just focus on one number. Because again, if I start doing a podcast that's like, several times a week, in time, we'll have covered all the major numbers and really great examples. But it won't overwhelm the listener. It's just like drops in the bucket. But then also just talking about the things going on. I can talk about world events without Gematria. It's just Gematria really does shine a big light. But again, I just know that to reach more people, there has to be less Gematria. Just most people's minds, they're so programmed to hate math and learning. It's too much. And I think that's why a guy like Dane Calloway, if I had to assume why he doesn't really share it much with his audience, is he just assumes it's not going to connect with them, and then he might get all the backlash that people like us do when we share this information. But it's got to change somehow. So I guess if I can get on Dane Calloway's show and do a collaboration, then he can make it like, well, he's allowing it to be on his show. He doesn't have to necessarily get the judgment from his audience that he might get. But at the same time, I just encourage all people, Dane Calloway and everyone else, to have more encouragement. And if you see that the work is true and important, share it regardless of what you think the consequences are going to be. And again, for those who aren't familiar with Dane Calloway, he's got a big channel. He's up to nearly 500,000 subscribers now, and he's still getting good views at this day and age. It's hard to get these kind of views. You see a lot of channels that have this many subscribers, but their views are down to like 1,000 per video. So many channels that supposedly have 500,000 subscribers are getting 1,000 to 2,000 views. Dane Calloway's still getting big views. Makes me sad. I used to get views like this back in 2017, but the last time I had, at the end of 2018, when I came back in 2018, I was getting some good views. But the last video that really got any views was Kobe's death. And I feel like had that video been out in 2017, it would have got 10 million views and changed the world. But so anyway, Dane Calloway's got a good audience. And again, if you want to come to his channel and watch this video on Coolio, it starts with Coolio in the car talking to Dane Calloway. And, don't make it go, well, he must be connected in a shill. Again, Brand Nubian rapper, he promoted my book. I don't know the Brand Nubian rapper. That made me happy to see. He's not as famous as Coolio. We did have CeeLo Green share Jonathan and I's video. Would he have shared it if Jonathan wasn't in the video? Maybe not. Might have made him more comfortable for sharing the video. But yeah, it's yeah, we need people like Dane Calloway to talk about Coolio by the numbers. And Dane did suggest in his video that maybe Coolio just died. I don't think, I mean, it's possible, but I don't think that's what happened looking at the anniversaries and what we know about the numbers. I know Dane Calloway knows all about 59, so I was actually surprised he didn't say something about that. Come on, Dane. We need Dane Calloway to help get this information to his audience. So, but yeah, Dane Calloway does a good job, you guys. He's someone worth being subscribed to. And one of his big things, one of his big subjects, you know, the majority of people know him for is, did black people really come over here on slave ships, or were they already here? And are we being told a false history? And I swear to God, the NFL wants us to know, the world of pro sports, I should say, even the NHL, they've probably done it in baseball and I missed it. Well, they do the same number. It is all the sports leagues, but they're making it really clear that the natives were black. I'm sure there were natives who look like the actual Native Americans we think of, who look like they're related to people from Mexico and Latin America. But I think there were black natives. Again, the only 3 black quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl played for the only 3 NFL native teams: the Redskins, the Chiefs, and the Seahawks, who get their symbolism from the local native tribe in Seattle. And Seattle's named after Chief Seattle, a Native American. And of course, they coded 42 on all those Super Bowls. Russell Wilson represented the 42nd state. Doug Williams with the Redskins had 4 touchdowns in the second quarter and scored 42 points in the game. And Patrick Mahomes had 42 pass attempts. And we know what it's all about, why Jackie wore 42 and what it's all about. But then when Obama was in office, the Chicago Blackhawks couldn't stop winning the Stanley Cup, and they're a Native American team. So, you know, the symbolism's there, the numbers are there, the rituals are there. So, yeah, I think they're trying to tell us, I think they're putting in our face that, yeah, that is true. I wouldn't say, though, that doesn't mean Africans weren't brought over as slaves and ships. Just because black people are already here doesn't mean some weren't brought over in slave ships. I know that people will argue that that was impossible and they would have all died on the ship. I don't know. Why would they all have died? That you can get people to submit to slavery, you know? Maybe there was, I don't know. I don't even want to start speculating, but we can see that you can get people to submit to slavery because look how much of America has submitted to slavery. They don't even see that it's slavery. They like what's being done to them. They don't realize how they're being used and abused. So, yeah, history's a lie, but then people start making definitive claims like, this definitely didn't happen. And I'm like, well, how can you know for sure it didn't happen? I mean, maybe it didn't. I don't want to sit here and fight about it. But since we all agree on this, let's work on this and fix this. Something going forward, I think the next project, or I shouldn't say the next project, I always have so many ideas, but I think I do want to start a website where the point of the website is to have like a QR code and an idea, but like every 3 months to try and get a large group of people to change, to do one thing and stop doing another thing. Do this, stop doing this. And it's all about self-improvement that will help out the person who makes those 2 choices that might not be the easiest choices, but if you do those things, you'll understand even without doing them. If you can achieve that, this will be positive for my life. But not only that, but if we all did those things, it would be positive for society. And so in a way, it's like we're trying to manipulate people into doing something out of a selfish interest that will actually change society for the better. And again, you know, it could be, again, if everybody took better care of themselves, like if you see, if you guys don't understand the reason I'm always ranting about how obese society is because I realize that that's bad for me. It's bad for me to be around this many unhealthy people because I live in a society where there's governments and bills. That's a huge liability walking around that guarantees that this nation's going to continue to sink. This Ponzi scheme of a nation we live in. But if everybody took care of themselves, that would be a net gain for society. So if everybody stopped drinking Coca-Cola products and listed why, because it's not good for you, and here's all the nasty things that they do that most people aren't aware of outside of them being a soda company. If everyone stopped supporting Coca-Cola, we could put an evil company out of business, but also do something very positive for your health. That could be like or maybe that's the way it is. Do and don't, and it's a new thing for each month. But not once the month passes, you just go back to doing it, but you try to learn that behavior for the month. I'm not doing Coca-Cola anymore. Now this month we're moving on to this. We're doing this and we're not doing that. It can always be a good do and a get rid of this don't. And that could be a cool thing if it went viral because people are like, man, he lost a lot of money not drinking Coca-Cola this week. And people will get the idea too, like, well, maybe I'll stop drinking Pepsi also. Or so if Pepsi doesn't feel discriminated against, the next month it could be, but anyway, it should just be soda. But again, you guys get the point of the idea. Anyway, I think a guy like Dane Calloway, we have ideas like this. If we get on board and share ideas and work together to achieve things and promote certain things, that's what this whole community could be. Like promoting each other, promoting good ideas, getting people to the right places to make the right things go viral. If everybody's working on their health and shutting down the next evil corporation and we're doing 1 month, one improvement, maybe next month somebody brings to us a nutrition idea that I didn't even know about before, you didn't know about, but a really good nutrition tip, and that becomes the do. Let's start having some of this in our diet, and let's not do this thing over here that was also toxic to us in this world. So anyway, I always imagined this is what was going to happen with the Truth Community when I first started, that all the channels who seemed to be about it would come together, share the good information, work together to make big things happen. And you know what? All this past year, I don't think I've called on Dane Calloway to come out and pound pavement with us and meet us in Oklahoma City for the anniversary of the bombing, Buffalo after the top shooting, 9/11 New York anniversary. But you know what? Dane, this is the guy I should have been called on because he still has the following. He's already on board with the message. And in a way, I wish he would have just met me there anyway because he must have known we've been doing it. But yeah. Anyway, Dane, if you're out there, you have a big buzzing audience right now. You could really help get out what I've been teaching about, and I wish people like you would do it more because I've been so censored, man. And again, that's why I think some people are scared to deal with me because they know when I come around, next thing you know, you're getting strikes, and your videos aren't doing as well. It's like my mom. I start doing this, and then her whole online wreath business dies. All of a sudden, she can't sell wreaths online when she was always so successful before. It's just, again, we're in the social credit scoring system already online. So, all right. I went on and on and on, and I do need to get off. And again, thank you to everyone. Shout out to all the people who hit the like and the share. Thank you to the super chatters. Thank you to the mods. And yeah, Shark's always got the words of wisdom in the chat. So, all right. Back to the grind, Truth Seeker. Again, I will be moving through probably the middle of next month. I anticipate by the middle of next month, everything will be done, and I'll be less frantic, and I'll let less... Because, again, I was in New York, and then I had no idea I was going to have to come back and move, and now it's in the moving, and it's just like... Yeah, I feel like I'm letting a lot of big stories slip through the cracks, and I'm slow to catch up. I'm just slower than I normally am. Normally, I'm more on top of stories. So, have some patience. Middle of next month, I think everything will be better. So, we'll leave it there. Until next time, Truth Seeker.